Hey, everybody. Andy Stickle here. Welcome to the Law Firm Marketing Hacks podcast. We've got an awesome episode today. We have got Mogill from the author of Game Changing Attorney. He wrote the book Game Changing Attorney. You can get it at gamechangingattorney.com. You also may know him as the CEO of Crisp Video, and we're going to talk about video and building authority and providing value and all types of stuff coming up on the podcast. Let's roll the intro music and we'll be right back.
You're not just a lawyer, you're a defender of the defenseless. You possess a license that allows you to fight for those who can't fight for themselves. But while you're fighting for others, who's watching out for you? For far too long, lawyers have been fed line after line by big marketing companies, promising the world and delivering nothing. And even worse, think of all the people you were unable to help just because they didn't know you existed. That ends today. It's time to take the power back. This podcast will teach you how law firm marketing really works, how to not only get more clients, but how to get your dream clients, how to save time, how to save money, how to save energy by only focusing on tactics that work so you can grow your firm and help more people, and how to never get screwed by a marketing company ever again. My name is Andy Stickle, and I've helped thousands of lawyers, and I can help you too. This is the Law Firm Marketing Hacks podcast.
All right. Hey, Michael. How's it going? How you doing?
Good. I'm doing great. Thank you for having me.
Awesome. Yeah, no, I'm really excited to have you on the podcast. Now, one thing that I saw about you that I want to talk about, because I think this is really the true test of an entrepreneur, and most of the lawyers that listen to this podcast are entrepreneurs, really. I mean, you're a lawyer, but really you're a business owner, is that you have a story about why 22 is your lucky number. Do you want to talk about that a little bit?
Sure, absolutely. So it wasn't always lucky. I'll tell you that. I mean, at the time, I didn't think this would be lucky. It's always funny. Like, stories work best in hindsight. When you're experiencing them, it's pretty miserable at times, but those make for the best ones. But yes, so as I was starting Crisp and I was pitching the company and trying to land our very first client, I had 21 consecutive failures. And I don't mean failures in the sense of like, an email or someone, but I mean actually presenting the company in person, full presentations. And, you're talking about this is why video is important. This is how video could be valuable. And every time I'm hearing no and no and no. And that's very discouraging. It's specific. This was in 2012. So it was a bit of a different landscape. So video was not as prevalent on digital and social at the time. It was still largely TV, and the companies that were doing video were large agencies, primarily for more like traditional platforms. But still, that being said, how many failures can one take before you start to kind of re-examine, is this a good idea or not? And I think some people can hear no maybe 5 times, 7 times, 16 times. And I think I even remember calling my dad at one point when I was starting the business. So to give context, I didn't have any money at the time. I mean, I literally had $500 to my name in my apartment. So, every time you hear no, rent's due very soon. So, at some point it's got to be yes before you go completely bankrupt. But I remember calling my dad. I think it was, I don't remember the exact failure, like 13 or 14 or something like that. And I'd mentioned it to him, and his first response was that I should just end the whole thing and give it up and just go to medical school. Oh, yeah. So, but I was I guess pretty stubborn and persistent. And after 21 times, I mean, I was very, very, very discouraged. But the craziest thing about this, it was because I'll share how this opportunity came about, in the sense that I was at a Texas Roadhouse. So like, if you're familiar with like the restaurant, Texas Roadhouse, the hostess, she'd asked what I did. I mentioned video. Her mom was the executive assistant to the owner of an agricultural company basically in South Georgia. Yeah. So I was like, okay, I'll give it a shot. And they had mentioned to me at the time that they had somebody already lined up that they'd worked with for many years that specialized in agricultural video, which is something I didn't know that you could actually specialize in.
Very interesting niche.
That's right. So I'm like, okay, so this guy specializes in this, has been working with them for a long time. Yeah. But there was an opportunity to present. So of course I said yes. And on the way there, and I'll give you the abridged version of it, but on the way there, I got a speeding ticket. It was the end of the month. And I'm wearing a full suit. So Leesburg, Georgia, I didn't know where that was located. So if you're in Atlanta, It takes over 3 hours to get there. So, and this is a place that at the time did not have like LTE or anything like that. So you're really driving in a very, very rural type of place. But got a speeding ticket on the way there. And then when they met with me, this was one of the shortest meetings I've ever done. It was less than 10 minutes. And they said, thank you, we'll call you. Then on the way back, I get another speeding ticket. and this is, I mean, literally, you think of like low points in your life. Nothing is working, and you're failing consistently, and you feel like a loser. Honestly, I mean, all my friends at the time, they're getting promotions, and they're buying homes, and they're raising families and things like that. And I have this idea that I'm very consistently failing at. So, undoubtedly, if someone's like, "Well, did you always believe in it?" Well, I mean, I promise that around failure number 21. Of course I had my doubts. And then especially after, going, bottom of rock bottom, 2 tickets, 2 speeding tickets, you're kind of willing to start packing it in. But very fortunately that we did land that opportunity, ended up traveling throughout the Southeast to farms and filming on these, with farmers. So it was actually very, very unique experience. And then that kicked things off. So that led, from the first client to the second client and so on. And now we have over 1,000. But it's so interesting. I always look back at this, because there's a few lessons in this entire experience. One is that no one really knows that you failed 21 times before you meet them. So you kind of have a blank slate each time when you meet with someone, so you don't have to carry one failure into the next one. And then the other thing is that had I given up at any point in this process, we wouldn't exist today. I mean, we wouldn't have the team we have today. We're almost 70 team members. We work with over 800 law firms. I mean, all these things that we do now. We wrote the book. We host the growth conference. All these different things would have never happened had I given up. So it's you never know if when you're 3 feet from gold.
No, that's 100% accurate. And, the reality is you said you failed 21 times. I don't look at it that way because, it's basically you only fail when you give up, so like you didn't give up, you basically learned 21 ways that it wasn't going to work, and, or 21 things not to do basically, so like, and it's really interesting. Like I'm listening to your story. And I didn't even know this before you were telling it, but we actually have a lot of parallels kind of in our life. So I started my business in 2012 also. I actually too went somewhere and I got a speeding ticket when I was and I know exactly what I'm thinking about right now, where I was late for a meeting. It was a meeting where I already knew I didn't have a good chance. I'd already gotten, the answer. I'd already gotten about 10 no's before that. And then on my way there, I get a speeding ticket. I took the LSAT, not the MCAT. I'm pretty sure you took the MCAT, right?
Yep.
So it's just interesting. How old are you by any chance?
So I'm 33.
Okay. Gotcha. So I'm 36. I'm a few years older than you, but yeah, we have a lot of similarities kind of in our background. And I think the biggest thing is persistence. And that's what I tell people all the time is that if you're persistence is that's the key to success. A lot of times I talk to lawyers and they'll do 2 videos, right? Because I'm a big proponent of providing value and doing video. And they do 2 videos and they say, "Oh, I did 2 videos and I didn't get any clients." It's like, of course you didn't get clients. You gotta be persistent. It takes, it's persistence. Anything in life, you've gotta stick with it. And I think that's really just a good lesson in that story where 21 times it didn't work, the 22nd time. And you know what? If the 22nd time didn't work, you probably would have gone back a 23rd time, and maybe 23 would be your lucky number, right?
Yeah, and the other thing I'd say to this, because there's a difference between failing and beating your head up against the wall, doing the same thing every single time, and ultimately either being a bad idea or not providing value, and then you could fail a lot but not actually make any progress, versus doing something that is valuable and staying persistent and learning and growing, as you've said, from it. So learning from each experience. I believe that before you can sell anything to anyone, whatever it might be, even if it's legal services, you have to be sold on it yourself. So meaning that if you believe in it, because I believe in it, otherwise I wouldn't have persisted for as long as I did, that I looked at it from the standpoint of this is where we believe digital content is going. We really see a future with video online. And at the time, now it's so interesting. People, you don't have to really answer the why video conversation anymore, because no one's actually questioning, well, why should I do video these days? But then at the time, I was getting a lot of those questions, and I had to talk about why video was important and all these, all these things. So it's if you see where things are going, if you're sold on what you're doing, it's much, much easier to present it. I don't know if that's what's called like passion or purpose, or if you will, but just being committed to it is very, very important. And who knows, maybe I would have gone to 40 times or 45 times, but I have a feeling I was pretty close. After that second speeding ticket, I was starting to, I hadn't found the line yet, but I feel like I was pretty close being at negative $500.
Speeding ticket. So you got, you got to get something out of it. So you started with agricultural video. How did you end up transitioning into law firms? You obviously, the first 21, I'm assuming, were with pitches to law firms?
No, it actually wasn't a single law firm. So when I started the company, we would do a video for anyone. So like I'd do a video for a landscaper, we do a video for a plumber, we do a video for a dentist, whatever it might be. We were just shooting videos, and so at that point, we really didn't niche down and we didn't have a niche focus, which was actually very, very helpful. So when we started the company, we worked with larger brands like Coca-Cola and Verizon. And then we started to work within different industries like dental and medical, tech, financial, and so on. Legal happened about 4 years ago, maybe a little over 4 years ago. We had an attorney that came our way, and she really had no online presence. We ended up producing a series of videos for her. And ultimately, that helped her business transform just immensely. So she became a market leader within her practice area. And at that time, I looked around at what else was going on within the legal marketing space and saw that for roughly the last 20 years, not a whole lot had changed in terms of the approach to legal marketing. And yet there was more and more competition. Markets were getting more saturated. There was, a lot of commoditization in the sense that, consumers really couldn't differentiate amongst different types of attorneys within their market. So when they were making hiring decisions, they couldn't tell one apart from another. So we saw an opportunity there to help our clients be able to differentiate and stand out. And over those last 4 years, now we are exclusively working with law firms. 100% of everything we do is with law firms. And it's I think the lesson there is that when you can niche down and focus, you can really, really specialize. You can clearly define who you're for, and you can get really, really good at it. So while we still get approached to do other types of videos, our focus is on legal. That's really been our go-to. It's an industry that we've very much spent a great deal of time in and understand. And I'd say that going from very broad to niche is also something that we encourage amongst our clients and our attorneys. So it's hard to be the criminal defense, family law, personal injury guy. But if, especially if you want to grow your business, if you really, really want to grow, the ones that are doing it the best, not only focus solely on one practice area, but even within that practice area would say, I'm the trucking lawyer or the motorcycle accident lawyer. There's such a value to that.
Yeah. And that's what I tell lawyers all the time is, niche, the riches are in the niches. If you can laser focus on a specific type of person and really speak to that type of person, but be it a motorcycle rider or an Uber driver or a parent of a teen driver or something like that, where you can really talk to them and provide value to them, then those people are gonna be much more loyal to you. Let me ask you a question. You guys do a lot of video. What platforms do you and I've got my opinions on this, but what platforms do you typically recommend attorneys focus on when they're creating video?
So the short answer is always the platforms where their ideal clients are spending their time, right? So that depending upon where that client is, but generally if we had the 80-20 this whole thing, it's Facebook, YouTube, LinkedIn, and Instagram. So those are the main ones. Facebook, I think everyone's clients are on Facebook regardless of age or demographic. But there's also, it's also how you use the platforms is very different too. So on Facebook, you're generally not searching for videos the way you would on YouTube. Right. So if you ever want to go back and find a video that you saw on Facebook, it's like good luck, right? But those are probably the main ones as of today. I mean, we see probably the greatest in terms of looking forward, probably the greatest opportunity with LinkedIn right now. But the main ones, when in doubt, if you had to pick four, it's Facebook, YouTube, LinkedIn, and Instagram.
Gotcha. Now you say you said the greatest opportunity is with LinkedIn. Can you talk about that a little bit? Why do you feel that?
Yes. So LinkedIn is still one that you can post content organically. So I believe the other three platforms, maybe Instagram to a lesser sense, but definitely YouTube and Facebook are very much pay to play for businesses these days. So meaning that if you were to post a video on your Facebook business page for your law firm, the percentage of people that would see it, even of the people that like your page, is like less than 1%.
Yeah. So you remember the good days back in like 2012 when it was like 25, 30%?
Oh yeah. I mean, absolutely. It used to actually, when you'd post content on your page, people would actually see it. And then there was a value to actually having people that would like it, the page or be fans of the page at the time. Now it's 100% pay to play. If you are not boosting content or promoting content on Facebook, your audience is just not seeing it. I mean, that's the reality.
Yeah.
It doesn't have to always be a huge boost, but it's any content that you spend resources to either create or produce, whether it's a blog post or video or anything, should have that. It's the same thing on YouTube. But when you look at a platform like LinkedIn right now, the ads are, they're very expensive. I think they're still working it out, but there's a tremendous organic opportunity. And I think this stems from the fact that right now, LinkedIn is kind of like, maybe Facebook 5 to 10 years ago, in the sense that when you post things on your news feed, the people that are following you are seeing it. And this really comes down to, I think, a shortage of content right now on LinkedIn. I mean, there's a lot, but not anywhere near platforms like Facebook's per se. So a lot of that is still being seen organically. And if you have a lot of people that you're connected with on LinkedIn and you're posting content, they can see it organically without you having to put paid spend behind it. So that's why we see a lot of opportunity there.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And I post to LinkedIn for myself, and admittedly, I have kind of neglected it because I'm the type where basically I create one video, and then I have a system where that one video goes to, I'll post it on my Facebook group, my Facebook page. It goes on YouTube. It goes on Instagram. It goes, all these different places on my website it goes and turns into a blog post. And then and LinkedIn is one of those places that it posts. And I do notice that I get a lot of views on my LinkedIn videos, even though I'm not paying attention to them. I actually probably get more than my actual Facebook page, which is interesting, and it's just something that that's kind of why I love doing these interviews also, is because it kind of jogs my mind about thinking, hey, maybe I should look into LinkedIn a little bit more.
Absolutely. And then we look at LinkedIn as also a really great platform for attorneys to target other attorneys. So like referring lawyers. It's a great place to, it may not be as it's good of a place for B2C, like just direct to consumer, but if you're trying to drive up more referrals and stay top of mind amongst referral sources, that's a really great place for it. Yeah. I mean, LinkedIn is great right now. It's the same thing where if you look at, just to give you as an example, Instagram. Today, if you are on Instagram and you're posting content in your feed, the people that follow you will see that content. This will 100% change. I predict, and I'm not the only one predicting this, but especially in the next year, in 2020, of course, this is going to be monetized, and of course, it will become pay to play. Those are always the trends. So if you can get in there early and you can start taking advantage of it now, you have a huge advantage before you'll soon have to pay before anything was going to be seen.
Yeah. You know what I think is really undervalued on Instagram is stories, because a lot of times, like, and I'm guilty of this also, but if you can actually use stories the way that I think stories are supposed to be used, which is kind of like a reality TV show where you can almost do it like a behind the scenes type of thing. Like if I was smart right now, I would pull my phone out and I would record, I would take a quick video and post it on my Instagram story, But if lawyers can do that consistently, and there's some lawyers, like we have a client in Boston who's pretty good at using Instagram stories, and they're quick, they're short 15-second videos, but they really allow you to kind of get to know the person a lot better when you're actually watching these stories, because it's like a glimpse into their life, and stories, they do get monetized. But what's interesting about stories is that typically people, when they sit down, they go on Instagram, they go through all the stories of all the people that they're following, So I think that stories are probably even more still probably one of the best places that you can get that. You can make sure that you're getting that reach on Instagram. Like I think the feed on Instagram is still a lot more liberal than Facebook, but I think stories are pretty good. Let me ask you this: Have you messed around with IGTV at all? Have you noticed? What have you seen with that?
So that's a good question. We've done some. So, anytime there's anything new that comes out, whether it's a new placement, a new platform, or anything like that, I was asked this actually about a week ago. We are allocating probably anywhere from like 5 to 10% of spend all the time in just R&D to just like try it out to see if if we change up this placement, if we change up this optimization, how does it yield different results? We've tried some on IGTV. The main thing I think that's important to say, especially even going back to stories, is just because if you're not seeing certain interactions, like things like even certain vanity metrics like likes and so on, or if someone's not commenting or someone's not sharing, that doesn't mean that someone's not seeing your stuff every single day. I'll tell you countless times, and we have to think, if we do this ourselves, how much content do we ourselves consume without ever liking it or commenting it, or really letting the content creator know that we are engaging with it whatsoever? Because we found that many of our attorneys, they're out at dinner somewhere and someone's telling them, hey, I see your stories all the time, and they'll start asking, like one of our clients, one of his hobbies, he's like a beekeeper. So he like does like, all the honey stuff, and he gets constantly, people are like talking to him about this, and they'll stop in different places, and none of these people are commenting on any of these videos. None of these people are actually liking it, but they're watching all of it. So it's just because you're not getting sometimes that direct feedback doesn't mean people aren't consuming the content.
Yeah, that's 100% accurate too. Well, you know what's interesting? Oh, my microphone's screwed up here. You know what's interesting that I've found is that the majority of people don't. So for example, you and I got on this call, and I would have had no idea that you've ever seen any of my stuff. And like the first thing you said to me was that you've been seeing my stuff for I think about a year now. And the same thing, I've been aware of Chris for a couple of years. I've seen a lot of your stuff, but neither of us have ever interacted in a. I don't even think I've so much as liked any of your content or anything like that, and vice versa. And that doesn't mean that I don't like what you guys are doing. I don't do that typically. You know what I mean? And a lot of people are like that. A lot of people will watch and then they move on, but they don't necessarily feel the need to click the like button or the share button, And then there's other people that like everything. It's funny because my dad, whenever he's on Facebook, my wife will be like, "Oh, your dad's on Facebook," because every single picture on that she posts or that I post gets a like from him. You know what I mean? Like it's almost like a seen it type of.
That's right.
So there's some people that are just like that.
That's right.
But yeah, it's really interesting. And actually, one little tidbit that I've seen, and I don't know if you found this or not. The IGTV posts that I've been putting out do not get nearly as many views as my short Instagram posts. Have you guys noticed that, or what have you guys seen with that?
Yep. It's the same thing without doubt. I mean, and here's the thing about it. I always look at the standpoint that when you're the first in pretty much any platform, and we see this all the time, when the Facebook rolls out something new, like when they rolled out like Facebook Live a while back, they would immediately prioritize the organic reach from live like content to the point where like you'd get notifications on your phone, like you'd be notified anytime anybody went live. Like
they're running TV ads for it, I think.
So they want to drive attention to that. So that's a really great opportunity to get on top of those things early, because Facebook is pushing it out for you. Like I would see people go live that I didn't even know who they were, like just people that I'd never engaged with, but Facebook's notifying me on my phone, like a push notification. And then they were also prioritizing previously, I mean, this obviously changed, but the organic reach of live videos too. So that's how I view IGTV or anything new, because the platforms like Facebook and YouTube and so on are always looking for additional places where soon they'll be able to put ad placements. I mean, we saw this with Facebook in Messenger. So they ran out of placements in the news feed and like, a sidebar and all these different things. And now they're like, there's messenger ads. And then there's also the idea of like group ads in Facebook groups, things like that. So it's basically, you have to be able to continuously find more real estate as the platform is growing and there's more and more advertisers. So if you can be one of the first to jump in on some of those, it's always worth experimenting. And one of the things is that you don't have to wait until it's a sure thing to get involved with it. I mean, at the times it doesn't mean you have to go all in on live video or stories or something like that, but using that as part of your marketing plan, it can hurt, and you can also differentiate yourself that way.
Yeah, absolutely. Do you guys do anything with live video?
Yes. We've done live video. We had we have a client like ambassador program, and every time, and we actually did this for our conference as well. Every time we would announce a new speaker, we would do it live. So we would we'd film something in our office, basically, and doing a speaker announcement, or with the referral program when we were announcing like the grand prize, things like that. The other thing we found that's been helpful with live video is when you actually like prime people, whether it's through Facebook, you say you're going to go live on Friday or something like that, or you send an email as well to let people know to tune in at that time. And then of course once that's done. So another thing that we found with live video is you'll have some that are watching it live, but most people are going to watch it after you've gone live. So just because you don't have 1,000 people tuning in at that exact moment doesn't mean you won't have 1,000 people by the end of the day watch it.
Yeah, no, that's very true. I do a live Q&A every week in the Lawyer Marketing Facebook group, and I'll have anywhere from 10 to 20 people watching live. But you go back a week later and it's got 500 views. So it's really, and I think that Facebook also, I don't know if they're doing as much anymore, but for a long time they were doing that, Andy Stickle was live, and they run it almost like a post. Especially when you start to get some engagement on it, when you get comments and questions. That's one of the reasons that I do it in the format that I do it, because I do a live Q&A. So people are asking questions. So my videos get a lot of engagement out of it.
Mm-hmm.
So
Absolutely.
It's pretty cool. So, so what do you guys, so, a new attorney comes to you, they say, I want to do some video. What do you typically recommend for them? What do you recommend they get started with?
Yes. So good question. So with video, it always comes back to like, what are the goals with video? Because some people say, oh, I'd like to do video. And we say, well, you've got a phone, and, the phones shoot pretty good video. So you can do things like live video. And in fact, anything that's, if you want to get your content up immediately, like there's something in the news, it's a current event, something like that, it does not have to be professional, professionally polished or anything like that. I think people forgive you if they see that it's, a Facebook Live or some content like that. Is that the best type of content to have on the homepage of your website? Probably not, because there you're really, dealing with the brand, things like that. So the first video we recommend is always, the video that's the brand video. And that's, how do you differentiate your firm from every other law firm, and why should someone choose to hire your firm as opposed to any of your competitors? So to be able to answer that, we do it in a very story-driven way. So it's less about, here are the services we provide, but more about, what is the experience of working with you? Why do you do what you do? What sets your firm apart? If we're featuring client testimonials, there's the social proof element of it as well. And it's really trying to build that connection and authenticity, because I think this is really where video shines. If you're able to connect with people and humanize yourself. So it's, oftentimes when we're working with our clients and our attorneys, it's realizing that most consumers really do not have a favorable either experience or perception of attorneys. And when they're reaching out to an attorney, it's usually not a very good day. So how do you bridge that gap in terms of being able to connect and humanize and be authentic? And one of the best ways to do it has really been through video and to tell your story.
Yeah, for sure. It's funny. I had this conversation with on another podcast episode where we were talking about, most people, like, no one really wants to hire an attorney. It's like you said, when you need to hire an attorney, you're probably not having a good day. Somebody's been injured or killed or arrested, or you just got served divorce papers, and you're probably not in a good mood. And yeah, I mean, you're 100% right. Especially, one of the things that we always tell our clients, because we do those homepage videos also, and I think that our videos, kind of follow the same format as your guys' videos. One of the biggest things you always want to lead with is the benefits to the viewer also. And that's one mistake that I see a lot of lawyers make, is that they make their videos and they make their website and they make all their advertisements about them, when at the end of the day, people really want to know, what are you going to do for me? Why, what's the benefit to me for hiring you? And I think that that's something that when you can really kind of shift the focus and shift the way that you present yourself in that video, in terms of, here's what I'm going to do for you, instead of making it all about me, that I think is what really makes for an effective video. What do you think about those types of messages?
Absolutely. I agree wholeheartedly with that. I mean, it's really, and this is why there's so much of a focus, and I think a focus on brand these days, because all of this. So, sometimes we get asked and they say, well, we want to build a brand. And the answer is, well, you already have a brand. You just may not like what the brand is today, and you may want to improve it. But anything that is really touching your law firm, down to, from the content itself to the experience of working with you to how the phones are answered, that all is going to relate to what the brand is. And it's how people perceive you. So when you're creating content that's about the client, that's of how you help them, and it's not just differentiating, like I said, on these are the services that we provide, or that we're super lawyers, or that we've have X amount in settlements and things like that. But more importantly, about, this is what it's like to work with us. This is why we do what we do. This is what sets us apart. When the team is talking, they're talking about the culture, and they're talking about the values of the firm. So why do you do what you do? That may not, hopefully is not, money, number one, right? But is more importantly about the fact that I grew up in this community, and then I went to law school, and I wanted to come back and make a greater impact and help people in need. So those types of things really resonate. And now, now the consumer's thinking, okay, this is a human being with a family of their own who genuinely cares about me, and not just, another, effing lawyer.
So, what's interesting about that is, that's why I think that you brought something up where basically there's two types of video. There's the finished, polished video that goes on your website, and then there's like kind of the social media style videos. And I think the social media style videos really shouldn't be finished and polished, because, I talk about character flaws a lot, and basically how the things that make you imperfect are the things that make you relatable to other people, and that's a big thing in video, because it's so funny. A lot of times, like I create so many videos now that I talk to people. Like I did an event, a workshop in Orlando 2 weeks ago, and like 35 lawyers flew into Orlando. And everybody was like, it was pretty much unanimous. Everybody's like, wow, I feel like I know you already. You know what I mean? And you can't get that from a polished video. You get that by being authentic and just getting on camera and just talking. And because you're more relatable, it's like, I was telling an attorney the other day, he was asking me, he's from San Francisco. And he was saying, should I wear a suit in my videos or what should I wear? I was like, honestly, you'd be better wearing like a San Francisco Giants jersey than a suit in these videos, because you've got to show that you're a real person. You've got to show that you're relatable and that, and make mistakes. Don't be afraid to be imperfect, because that's what draws people to you, and that's something that I think a lot of attorneys kind of get hung up on, is they confuse the setting, like when's the time to be polished and when's the time to be real? I feel like it's the real world. So this is when people start getting real, or what is it, stop being fake? What was that slogan?
Well, see, I agree with you. I think on social media, without a doubt, when you're seeing content, and you see it from a lot of really great content creators too, like you see like what Gary Vaynerchuk is doing, things like that, where you've got more candid content, in the sense that, they're filming, it's almost like you're documenting the things that you were doing and what you're doing in your day, the conversations you're having, how you're working with your clients, the culture of your firm, those types of things. Those work really, really well on social media. I agree with you. Those don't have to be incredibly polished. Where we see more like professional content work well is on when it's something that's long lasting. So where it goes on, on the firm website, or even some videos on the firm YouTube, or let's say you're doing things like client testimonials or videos pertaining to like a specific practice area. But when you're doing content that's more about, here's, let me give you a tour of our office. Here's how we work with our clients. Here's what, we're sitting in a client meeting. We're doing a leadership meeting. Here's something we did for Halloween, in our culture, those types of things. It's almost like if you make it too polished, you remove some of the authenticity.
Yeah, exactly. And that's the biggest thing, is the authenticity. That's kind of what you learn. So, or what you lose when you do those polished videos. So, you mentioned Gary V. You just recently had a chance to hang out with Gary V at your conference. I saw next year you guys have some cool people coming. Who do you guys have next year coming to the conference?
So far we've announced John Maxwell, who's going to speak on leadership, and Malcolm Gladwell. Those have been the two that we've announced. Obviously, we'll have several more. We kind of roll these out each month leading up to the event. So the next one's taking place in November of 2020. But yeah, it's that is a whole nother a whole nother world. But I will say it's been extremely rewarding and exciting to do it. It's by far the most ambitious thing we've done as an organization. So like you put together 1,000-person legal conference, but then you start to basically you determine how good of a marketer you really are if you can fill that room.
Yeah, that's for sure. I did. And it's funny too, because like even just organizing, because I've been looking into organizing conferences, and actually my background is as a concert promoter. So it's kind of the same thing where, you're renting venues and organizing all this stuff, and you don't realize how much goes into a conference or some big event like that, especially when 1,000 people are coming. You just don't realize. I mean, even the one we did a couple weeks ago with 35 attorneys, my assistant was working on it and just working like crazy on it. And it was, when you go to it, I mean, it was an impressive event, but it's like, you'd never realize how much goes on behind the scenes from that stuff. So it's really cool. Yeah. I'm going to try to make it out to Atlanta this year. I wasn't able to make it. I'm going to try to make it next year. I wasn't unfortunately able to make it this year. I actually didn't find out about it until a couple weeks before when I heard some attorneys talking about it. I was like, oh, I got to check this out.
Man, see, now I know we need to step our game up. And so I'll tell you actually a funny thing, since we're talking about social media and social advertising. Yeah. So this is one of the things that I presented at the summit, just being transparent. So we were relentless with our marketing for this thing. I mean, we had to be. So I will say, getting 1,000 people in one room, so law firm owners, the idea, and this is an interesting challenge, because you've got to get someone to leave their office, fly to Atlanta, so buy a plane ticket, a hotel room, ticket to the conference, and then dedicate 2 days there, where they could be doing literally anything else. So you've got to be able to present enough value to be able to justify that. And then to do that times 1,000 times for 1,000 people.
Yeah.
So the interesting thing about it is we were running, social ads relentlessly for this thing. I mean, to put it in perspective, probably anywhere from like $10,000 to $20,000 a month just on the Summit ads on Facebook.
Yeah.
And people were seeing them continuously. We were reaching frequencies of like, 14, 15, 18, where like the same person was seeing it so many times.
Yeah.
And if you had to guess, how many tickets do you think we can directly attribute to our Facebook ads for the Summit? So we were running it. I mean, you imagine probably we ran them for 10 months. So in those total 10 months, if you had to estimate, how many tickets do you think we can directly attribute to someone clicking on that ad and buying a ticket?
Just so basically you're talking about a cold click, like cold audience right to the ad, or right to the landing page.
That's right. Yep.
That's a tough one. I'm going to say it's probably about 25%. Okay.
Do you want to know the number?
Yeah, let's hear it.
So I'm going to pull this up so I have this accurate for you. This is, I'll give you the exact number. This is directly attributable to like someone actually clicking. And here you go. You ready?
From Facebook?
Yep. So they like clicked on the Facebook ad, which went to the Summit page and bought a ticket. Like, total over 10 months. And we're talking basically investment 10 to 20,000 a month. 9 tickets.
9 tickets. So
9 tickets directly attributable to the social ads.
Oh wow! So what was your biggest source of ticket? What was your biggest source of growth then?
So I have a point to this, by the way. Before someone's thinking, oh wow, they just really just spend almost $200,000 running social ads to sell 9 tickets. That's a very high cost of acquisition for a ticket. Sure. I mean, that would be absolutely insane to do that. But what was interesting is every time we would send an email, we would we sent one in February. And we sold 137 tickets from the email. Okay. So basically, and the email is free. Yeah. What we found was that if we sent the emails alone, like individually, that we basically sell 0 tickets or like 1 ticket. And these, this is to a large list. But if we were first engaging people and nurturing them and being able to provide that value as to like, what is this event all about? Who's speaking at it? Why you should attend? Why you shouldn't attend? That worked pretty well too. So we had content out there of like reasons not to go, reasons this is not for you, and then when we would then follow that up with an email, so like that in itself really drove the majority of the results. So I'd say social was a majority responsible for selling out that event, but we had to have the patience of understanding that, once we launched those social ads, we weren't looking at it as how many tickets we sell directly. And I encourage law firms to think the same way when they're marketing on these social platforms, not always look at it the same way you would have like Google PPC, like pay-per-click, but to look at it from a long-term standpoint of not only just brand building and nurturing, but from a multi-channel standpoint, that if someone's going to see your content multiple times across multiple platforms, now you're building trust with them, you're staying top of mind with them. They may not be injured today or need your services today, because on social, they're not searching for a personal injury lawyer, for example, or a criminal defense lawyer the way they would on Google. Yeah. But if you're staying top of mind to them when that need does arise, perhaps they'll think of you. And we find that that is the case. So that was kind of our secret to doing it. I don't really know that secrets exist per se, but it was a willingness to invest that much for that long without having the direct ROI on social in particular, but then looking at everything as an aggregate of what was our total marketing investment per month, and then what was our real cost of acquisition for everything all together that drove those ticket sales. Yeah.
And let me ask you a question. Did you guys run remarketing ads after running your social? So for example, like you run remarketing ads to anyone that hit the landing page but didn't buy?
Yes. Remarketing ads at a super high frequency. Absolutely. I felt, hey, if we could
Did you get sales from remarketing?
Yes. But even then, those wouldn't always come directly from social. Even when we remarketed them back on Facebook, and even when they would click, because I would have still counted that as a ticket from social. Okay. So, but even then, that alone wasn't enough. It was when we were driving, so when we were going in and asking, buy a ticket, or the price is about to go up, or this event's about to sell out. So we even sold out the event a couple months before the event itself, which I was grateful for, but I was kind of upset about too, because selling out meant the venue had reached capacity. Yeah. And this is the second time this has happened, and I don't mean this in like a humble brag kind of way. I was legitimately upset about it in that like we couldn't physically fit more people in there, and I wanted to. Like, why would we not? We had 2 more months to go to the event.
Sure, yeah. That's an interesting point about how I always say the internet's kind of an ecosystem where it's usually not. It's like kind of everything affects everything, So And that's why I do the marketing the way that I do, where I always tell people, you've got to get their email address, and then you got to get them into a Facebook group, and then you get them on a Facebook audience, and then you're kind of hitting them for all directions, and you don't know exactly, what's going to be the one thing that's going to resonate with them. But it's like you said, it's really interesting. The side of remarketing for me, because I run a lot of ads. And I run a lot of cold ads. And my goal with my cold ads is really just to get someone's email address and then get them to understand who I am. And then usually when I get people to book a call with my office or buy something, buy my book or buy one of my courses or something like that, almost always it's through remarketing ads. Very rarely do I get like a cold, because I do webinars. I've got a few webinars out there, but very rarely is it, cold traffic that books a call with us. It's usually if you look at like all of the ad campaigns that we have, if you take all the total of book calls from all of our campaigns that we've run over the last year, and then look at the single remarketing campaign that we have and look how many book calls are from that, the remarketing campaign easily is double, maybe even triple, It's interesting that so many people leave money on the table because they don't remarket. They don't do the follow-up, and the money's in the follow-up. That's where, with whatever you're doing. I used to transfer when I was in college, I used to transfer VHS tapes to DVD. So I would go out, I'd take those signs and I would just write VHS tapes to DVD and put my phone number, and I'd put them on the side of the road, and people would call me and they'd say, "Oh my God, I've been looking for somebody to do this. I've got a whole box in my attic. I'm going to call you as soon as I get home." And they would never call me. And I was smart enough for some reason to actually keep track of all the phone numbers. And I think maybe in a year of doing it, maybe a handful of people ever actually, said they were going to do it and then did it right then. All my money was made when I called them again and said, "Hey, it's the guy who's going to do your VHS tapes. You want to do that?" And they're always like, "Oh yeah, that's right. I totally forgot about that." Or, "I've been looking for your number and they took your signs down. I couldn't find them," And so many people don't realize that first touch, just because they don't buy on the first touch or don't hire you on the first touch, does not mean they're not interested, and it doesn't mean they won't eventually be a client. But that's just how the game works. You got to follow up.
Hey, you know what? I'll take this a step further, because this is an area I'm especially passionate. So another thing that you're talking about is effective frequency. So basically, how many touch points does it take before you can get someone to take a desired action, right? How many times do they have to see your ads or see your content before they respond? And the studies show, and we've seen this to be the case, it usually is a minimum of 9 times. So how many people that are listening to this podcast are hitting their audience a minimum of 9 times even, or are following up a minimum of 9 times? It probably actually takes a good bit more, but I would say even just from a minimum standpoint, there's that. Yeah. And when you're targeting, so you can go really deep on retargeting and remarketing audiences from the standpoint that, we would even build audiences, let's say whether it was for the conference or for our website, looking at, not just the people that visited the website, but then splitting up those audiences based on the length of time they spent on the website, the number of pages they'd visited while they were on the site. We've built intent-based audiences. So with video, you can build really warmer audiences. So here's kind of the idea. I mean, because someone is generally not searching for a particular type of attorney, or let's say they're not looking for a personal injury lawyer, they may need one. How do you target one? Because you can't target injured people on Facebook. I think if you could, some attorney in America that would just destroy that for everybody on day one. But you can target based upon intent. So you can, putting out a ton of video content, you can look at, well, who are the people that, to a broad audience, I've watched 25% of this or 50% of this or 90% of this, build an audience based on the ones that are actually watching your content, and then target those people more frequently. We've seen a much, much better response there. So I think the remarketing audiences are probably the lowest hanging fruit and the greatest opportunity, the least expensive traffic. And at the very least, if you do nothing else, just at least retarget the people who visit your website.
Yeah, for sure. One thing I always tell lawyers also is I say, when someone comes into your office and doesn't hire you, how often do you call them back and just follow up with them? And the answer is almost 100%, I don't. You know what I mean? That's one thing right there. If you just follow up with people that are even in your office, I guess that's the original form of remarketing. People would get clients that way too, So that would be if there's lawyers that are listening to this and just need clients now, I'd go back through, people that have been in your office recently and follow up with them. And I bet you'll pull a client or two out of it, So anyway, Michael, listen, it was awesome hanging out today. I think you guys are doing some really cool stuff over at Crisp. I'm excited to check out the Game Changers Summit, the 3rd Game Changers Summit next year. I guess it's over a year. When is it? November 13th through 16th?
Yeah, we gave ourselves more time this time. So this is these are quite the they're a big initiative to put together. I mean, we now have like a dedicated events team in house, and to put it all together. The thing I'll say with these is just that it's extremely rewarding, but the details are so crucial, and it's very much experiential.
How many tickets are you gonna have this time?
So this time we're going bigger. We've expanded to a bigger venue this time around, so that we're targeting 1,500 this time. Okay. And the exciting thing, and I don't say this as like a sales or marketing thing, I'm just pumped because we announced these things on the second day of the prior summit. So we figure that if everybody's already there in one room, just to get them to just come to the next one is much easier than tell them a few months later. So we are actually already more than half of the way sold out on that one. So we've sold 800 tickets to this one.
Oh, wow. Awesome. Cool. Awesome. Well, hey, congrats on that. You guys have time. You can probably upgrade to a bigger venue. So, but that's cool. That's awesome. All right. Awesome. Cool. Well, the biggest thing people can check out, go to gamechangingattorney.com to grab your book. What's the Chris Video website? Is it chrisvideo.com?
That's right. I got that one early. $7 on chrisvideo.com. That's right.
Nice. Yeah, that'd be worth a lot of money now. Cool. All right. Well, hey, listen, Michael, thank you so much for hanging out with me. I appreciate you coming on here, and I look forward to hanging out with you in person at one of these summits one day.
Well, thank you for having me.
Hey, thanks for listening to the Law Firm Marketing Hacks podcast. Remember to subscribe and to leave a review. Do you ever feel like you're lost when it comes to marketing your law firm? Like you just don't know where to start, or maybe you're confused by all the information out there, all the conflicting information? Well, I've helped lawyers, thousands of lawyers just like you, grow their law firms with proven strategies, and I can help you too. There's no need to waste any more time or any more money on strategies that don't work, or strategies that you're not even sure if they're going to work. Well, I've tested so many strategies, and I know what works, and more importantly, I know what doesn't work. I can show you exactly how to get more clients, more cases, and make more money for your law firm. There's no more guesswork. When you work with me, you'll have a proven strategy that will help you grow your law firm, and you'll have access to an expert who's helped thousands of lawyers, walking you through the entire process. So let's work together. Book a free strategy session with my team today. Just go to chatwithandy.com. That's chatwithandy.com and fill out a quick survey that lets me learn a little bit about your law firm. Then book a call and talk with my team. You'll learn exactly how this strategy works and if it'll work for your law firm specifically. You'll never waste time or money or get screwed by a marketing company ever again. Now, on this call, we're going to do three things. The first thing we're going to do is we're going to learn about your law firm. And then the second thing is we're going to find out if you're actually a good fit to work with us. And then the third thing we're going to do is if we can help you and if you're a good fit, then we're going to tell you what we have to offer. So you don't have to worry. There's no hard sell or anything. My team, the people that you'll talk to are not salespeople. They're just designed to kind of identify, can we help you and are you a good fit? And then they'll kind of make the offer and let you know if it's something if it's something you want our help with. So go to chatwithandy.com today and book your call, and I look forward to working with you.